Hi there, it's Dr. Leslie. I wanted to jump on here real quick and answer a great question from the free Facebook group, Healing Migraines Naturally with Leslie Caesar ND. If you're not with us in that free Facebook group, please join us. We have almost 12,000 women who want to heal migraines naturally in the Facebook group. So it's a very dynamic Facebook group. It's one of the largest migraine Facebook groups. It's actually a much more positive place, frankly, because it is full of women who are looking to stop getting migraines, to improve their health and stop getting migraines. Sadly, most of the migraine Facebook groups are more focused on managing chronic migraines with medication because people, unfortunately, they've been told that this is something that they can't recover from. So, unfortunately, a lot of the migraine Facebook groups are not a real positive place. So my Facebook group, it's actually a little corner of hope within the Facebook community here for migraines. So I invite you to join us. So I had a great question from a new member. I appreciate her self-reflection here. She said, you know what? I don't eat very well. I have pretty poor eating habits and I tend to binge eat. And anytime I try to change my diet, right, because I know that I'm not eating in a health supporting way. And so every time I try to change my diet and eat in a more health supporting way, I get a horrible, horrible migraine. So what do I do? Like, how do I get out of this, right? I'm sure she really feels like she's stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? And how many times do we know we're really not doing the right thing for ourselves, but we can't stop, right? Something is preventing us. Maybe it's something more like internally on the mental emotional side where we're sabotaging ourselves, or it's something physical, right? Where our body is just like not letting us make those changes, right? So I really appreciate this question, and I think a lot of people will resonate with this. Certainly, I've felt like stuck and trapped in my life too, trying to make positive changes. So let me talk about what could be going on here. Again, I don't know this person, so this is not like speaking directly to her case, but I'm just going to throw out some possible reasons why somebody would feel worse when they're trying to eat a healthier diet, right? So first of all, when we have chronic migraines, okay, as we all know, I used to have chronic migraines, so I get the deal, okay? So when we have chronic migraines, our body becomes hypersensitive, okay? This is the classic, the wind blows too hard and we get a migraine, right? I used to be spectacularly sensitive to the sun. So if I were out in the sun without sunglasses and a hat for like 10 or 15 minutes, I mean, we're not talking a long period of time, very short period of time, on a nice day, we're not talking like 90-degree day, we're talking like, 72-degree day, I would very likely get a migraine, okay? So again, these little tiny thing, I'm getting a migraine, right? The barometric pressure changes a little bit. The temperature changes a little bit. Altitude changes a little bit, right? I sleep too late. I get up too early, right? Any of these little changes, boom, we're in a migraine. So we can feel that our body is very hypersensitive to any little change. So our body becomes acclimated to the environment that it is in, okay? Now, there's sort of a name for this, which is routine, right? My routine is to get up at 6 in the morning, right? My routine is going to bed at 10 p.m. My routine is to eat my lunch at noon, my dinner at 6, my breakfast on the go in the car, right? Like we have these routines, okay? So the body becomes acclimated to particular routines or the particular environment that we're in. Routines conserve stressors, okay? So if we had no routines, okay, so if I would be going to bed or getting up at any point in time, if I had absolutely no routines, my body would not be able to anticipate anything and prepare ahead of time for it, okay? That would be a lot more stressful than if the body knows, okay, she's going to eat in the car on the run And I was just using that as an example. I don't actually do that. Okay, I don't recommend doing that. But if my body were to become acclimated to eating breakfast on the run in my car, then it's going to adjust my saliva production, my hydrochloric acid production, my pancreatic enzyme production, the motility or the peristalsis in my digestive tract. My adrenals are going to adjust to that because it's going to be just more stressful to like multitask. I'm driving, I'm eating, I'm, whatever, I'm doing all this in the car, so that my adrenals are going to adapt to that. The whole body, the biochemistry and the physiology of the body is going to adapt to that routine of eating breakfast in the car, right? So that, again, if the body is prepared for something, if it says, okay, you know what, we're going to go through this whole stressful thing every morning, but we're going to amp up and do it, then it's less stressful. Okay, so with migraines, right, any little stressor tips us over into a migraine. And even health supporting changes are going to generate a stressor on the body. Okay, so if I am acclimated to eating in a stressful situation, and my body's got everything up and running to accommodate that, and then suddenly I sit at the kitchen table and eat my breakfast, my body is going to go, what is this? We thought we were going to be driving 55 miles an hour on the tollway into work. What's going on? Okay, that's going to generate more of a stressor on the body. Okay, if I normally wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then my hormone cascading is acclimated to that, my digestive tract is going to start waking up, right? Everything in my body is going to get adapted to waking up at 6 in the morning. If I book that flight early and I'm going to have to wake up at 4 in the morning for that flight, oh no, I might get a migraine, right? Well, that's because we are going outside of our routine and going outside of what our body is acclimated to, and that's going to generate more of a physical stressor, and then we are going to get tipped into our migraine zone if we don't have enough resiliency and vitality to weather that additional stressor, okay? So if your body is acclimated to a particular food and you abruptly change the food that you're eating, you are going to generate a physical stressor on your body, because our digestive function is the major thing that our body does. The vast majority of our energy expenditure every day is on our digestion. Okay, if you were to ask people, what do you spend most of your energy, what does your body spend most of its energy doing? We might think, oh, moving our muscles. That must be most of what my body spends its energy on. Or like maybe our brain, running our brain. Is that what my body? Yeah, that's probably what my body spends most of its energy on every day. It's our digestive function, okay? So our digestive tract, the human digestive tract, can acclimate itself to a wide variety of food, okay? We're not like a polar bear that has to eat a certain food all the time, or, I have 2 cats, they're carnivores. You gotta feed them meat, okay? They don't eat plants. So the human animal can eat a wide variety of food. We can have people living at the equator eating mostly plants and everywhere in between, and our digestive tract will acclimate to that. But if I, a person living in the Chicago suburbs and shopping at, mainstream grocery stores and eating that food, if I were to suddenly go to the Arctic Circle and eat a slab of whale blubber, how sick would I get? Right? My digestive tract is not acclimated at all to breaking that type of food down. And so it wouldn't be able to break that food down. It would be completely caught off guard. And I would probably get very sick in my digestive tract. I would expect that. And then if I'm prone to migraines, well, again, that's a great way to get a migraine. Okay. So, this woman, she says, I know that I'm not eating healthy food. Okay. So I don't know what she's eating, but she's a chronic migraine sufferer. She's probably barely making it through the day. maybe she's eating like a lot of fast food, right? Because I can go through the drive-through and I can get something. I can't go in a grocery store. The lights bother my eyes. I can't cook anything. I can't stand for more than 15 minutes without feeling poorly. But, I got to eat. I'm hungry. Let me just go through the drive-through and I'll get some fast food. Maybe that's what she's doing, okay? And she's saying, well, I know this isn't health supporting. Of course, if I ate a little bit better, I'm sure I would feel better. Let me try to eat a different type of food. So she goes home and she cooks maybe a little chicken breast and she cooks a little broccoli or something like that, and she tries to eat that. Well, her body is acclimated. Let's say it's acclimated to, a Big Mac and fries, okay? So it's acclimated to a certain amount of fat, but that's going to be a relatively high-fat meal. So it's her liver and her gallbladder are acclimated to having enough bile and squirting enough bile into her small intestine to emulsify that higher fat meal. So her gallbladder is like ready. I got a lot of bile here. I'm ready for this fatty food. There's probably a lot of glucose in that McDonald's meal. We've got the bun made out of wheat, which is a glucose-dense food. We've got the French fries, potatoes. Potatoes are a very glucose-dense food. And so we got a lot of glucose coming in. So her whole metabolism is acclimated to a pretty good amount of glucose coming in. And then we've got a little beef patty, okay? So not a lot of protein, okay? So I don't need as much stomach acid if I have a little less protein. I don't need as many pancreatic enzymes if I've just got a little bit of protein, right? So her stomach and her pancreas are going to adjust to that. So if her digestive tract is acclimated to a Big Mac and fries every night around, 5:36 when she's coming home from work, and then, one day she says, you know what, I want to feel better, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to cook that broccoli and I'm going to have that for dinner. Well, so now we've got a meal that doesn't have a lot of fat in it. Chicken breast is one of the least fatty animal foods you can eat, okay? So instead of like all of the fat from the fries and the fat from the little bit of beef, now I got a real lean meat. Well, my gallbladder is sitting here with all of this bile, squirting it into my small intestine, but there isn't a lot of fat in there. So that's not going to go real well, okay? And then I'm used to a whole bunch of glucose coming in from the hamburger bun, from the French fries, and I just had a little broccoli. There's hardly any glucose in broccoli, okay? Very, very little glucose. So now my pancreas is like ready and raring to go. The insulin production that the pancreas is used to making is like, okay, we're going to get a lot of glucose. We're going to need a lot of insulin. What? There's no glucose here, right? We're going to completely throw our pancreas off guard, okay? So also, we're used to a little bit of protein in that little tiny McDonald's patty, okay? Maybe that's an ounce, maybe it's 2 ounces of beef, not a lot of protein. Okay, now I'm going to eat like a whole chicken breast. Now there's a ton of protein. My stomach is like, I don't have enough acid for this, right? So, this is just like a disaster waiting to happen, right? No wonder you're getting a migraine after this, okay? So this is why you can't make abrupt changes, okay? When you have chronic migraines, your system is in a hypersensitive state, okay? Everybody's body is going to acclimate to the environment that it's in. Women with weekly migraines, if you're having 8 or more migraine days a month, I'll show you how to drop them to near zero in 90 days without adding more medication. Or I work with you until you do. My client Katie is a 35-year-old wife and mother of 2 who was struggling with severe migraines that affected every aspect of her life: work, home, and social. She had tried it all, every drug and natural therapy out there. None of it helped, and she was only getting worse. In the beginning, she was skeptical, but she trusted and followed the 12-week plan and got incredible results. She said she finally feels like her normal self again after suffering with migraines for over a decade. She has never felt more alive because she can finally be the mom she always knew she could be. I have worked with women just like Katie from all across the United States overcome migraines naturally. So if you're serious about healing your migraines naturally, then tap the link in the description and book a free consult call. We do cap new clients monthly, so if the calendar's full, the doors are closed for now. So don't wait to reclaim the life you deserve to live. There is healing available for you. I look forward to chatting. Click the link now to schedule your call. Now back to the podcast. Everybody's body is going to acclimate to the routines that the person has. And anyone makes an abrupt change, their body is going to go through a massive shock and have to quickly adjust. But if we're prone to migraines, the stress of that can easily tip us into a migraine. Okay? Other people who are not prone to migraines, they're prone to other symptoms that aren't as horrible as migraines. They're not going to feel great, right? If somebody's acclimated to eating a Big Mac and fries, and then they eat a chicken breast and broccoli, they're probably not going to feel great. But if they're not prone to migraines, they're not going to get a migraine. They're not going to be bedridden after it, right? But they may not feel great. Maybe they have, upset stomach, or they have a loose stool, or, something like that. But it's not like now I'm in bed for 3 days because I had a healthy meal. But can that happen to a migraine sufferer? You betcha. Okay. Ask me how I know. I've been through it personally. Okay. So this is the thing, and a lot of people, when they reach out to me, they think that I'm going to give them like a food list, or I'm going to tell them, hey, you need to eat like this. And yeah, I know where we need to go to, right? I know how to put together a health supporting diet, not a migraine diet. Okay. But a health supporting diet that would be appropriate for anyone. But we can't do that too quickly, okay? If I have a new client that has daily head pain, I'm not going to have them make any abrupt changes to their diet. I'm going to look for, okay, what's the one thing we could do that's going to be a little bit more health supporting, that their digestive tract can handle, and that's not going to generate too much stress on the system. And I identify that, and I make that recommendation, and then I monitor them to make sure that what I recommended and what I anticipated happening is actually coming true. Okay? And I tell my clients the first week, usually I have people make a little change to their eating habits to get a little bit more nutrients into the system and move them towards a little bit more health supporting eating habits. But I tell my clients, my first concern is that you don't get a migraine. And I'm looking for that, right? So if I recommend a little change and somebody has an uptick in head pain, okay, we need to back off. We need to make an even smaller change, okay? So I tell this to my clients all the time. My top priority, the thing that I'm looking for first, is we can change what you're eating a little bit and you still feel like okay, right? You're not feeling worse. Because absolutely it can happen. It happens all the time. I'm like proactive on this issue. So what you're describing with your experience is, the question is, how do I push through? What's going on here? Is this like a detox reaction? Primarily, it's just the shock of this abrupt dietary change on your system, and any stress can tip us into a migraine if we don't have enough resiliency and vitality to weather that. So that's what's happening more than likely to you when you try to make those changes. So again, we don't have to eat a certain way because we're prone to have a special migraine diet. You do not need to avoid trigger foods. If your digestion is not working properly and you're overloaded with metabolic waste material and toxins, then yeah, you can have food reactions, right? If my digestion is not functioning well and I eat a really nutrient-dense food like a tomato, then yeah, I may not feel good after eating a tomato. But it's not the tomato, it's my digestive function. Okay, so I'm not saying just go out and eat whatever kind of food you want, or food doesn't affect you. Obviously, right? We have had the experience of repeatedly eating certain foods and getting a migraine or not feeling well afterwards. But this is a very important point. It's not because of the food, it's because our digestive tract can't break the food down. So we want to make small, incremental, gradual changes that move us towards the goal, but not so much that it's going to generate so much stress on our body and tip it over into a migraine. And we have to give our digestive tract time to adjust. Because again, like if I fly here from Chicago up to the Arctic and have seal meat, I'm not going to feel good, right? But if I have a little seal meat and, the food that I'm used to, and then a little bit more seal meat and the food that I'm used to, eventually my tract is going to acclimate to the native diet at the Arctic Circle, because we're humans and we're omnivores and we have a tremendous ability to adapt, unlike other animals. So it can happen, but I just can't abruptly make those types of changes. Okay. This is still the case if we're going to move from what we know to be not that health supporting eating habits to health supporting eating habits. We want to make those changes gradually, and the more chronic our migraines are, the more slowly and carefully we want to make those changes. And at the same time, we want to get our digestive tract up and running so that it can digest all of this health supporting food. So thank you for the question. I hope that helps, and I hope that explains why you're going through this. So thanks again for joining me today. Let me know. So first of all, join the Facebook group, and then definitely post your questions for me so that I can get them answered for you. So I will talk to you soon.